After the initial tours, was there sort of, did you feel the pressure then? Because at the time, I remember like everyone was like, "Oh, the sequel to Alive or Just Breathing is now being worked on," and to many, that's what it was. And was there sort of that pressure that came into it then after that, and you're like, "Oh shit, okay, now we've got to write."
There was, but that record was handed to me before I was officially announced to rejoin. So I already had the record with me. And it was like, hey, we're going on tour soon. Here's a record, write it. So while I'm getting ready for tour, going on tour, I'm out there, I'm still writing a record. So it was a lot at once. But that first record, to me, like, I don't remember it being stressful. I don't remember, maybe Adam would tell it differently, but I just had so much pent up inside of me and so much to prove that I was like, I got this shit. I'm gonna own this motherfucker. That's how I felt in my head. But truth be told, working on new music is one thing. Having to get on stage and sing songs that I didn't write that were huge hits for this band, international hits. That's where rubber meets the road when you want to talk about pressure and anxiety and insecurity and feeling like I have to fill somebody's shoes who hands down is a more polished vocalist than I am, has a completely different tone to his voice, created these anthems that took this band to these heights. And to me, I'm still this hardcore kid that got lucky with being at the right place at the right time with musicians that were better than me. So that definitely was a factor of me feeling the pressure of like, I've got to fucking not only perform this shit live, but this next record needs to be everything that I can do. Like I had to pull out every weapon in my arsenal to show that I could do this job. It might be different, but it's me, and if you like me, it's going to be cool. If you don't like me, you're probably not going to like me no matter what I do because I'm not ever going to be Howard. So there was a lot on my plate that had everything to do with the comparison of Howard Jones. And I think that is something that still is on my shoulders and still is something that people talk about. I've just thankfully learned to sort of live with it and be honored that I'm spoken in the same breath as Howard as a vocalist. Even if people say, I suck compared to him, that's okay because we're two completely different vocalists. And when you do something that you love and your passion is there, people take notice of that. And I think that's my gift. I'm passionate. I write lyrics that people can relate to, and I sing my face off, even if I'm not perfect. So if we were to really be honest, when you get all down to it, the pressure was not about writing a new record or rejoining the band. It was everything to do with the legacy of Howard Jones and trying to step into those shoes and go, do these fit okay?
Do you think forming a friendship with him helped you connect to his material better?
I'd already connected to his material on my own because I kind of had to, like I had to embody that shit and feel it, or I wouldn't be able to genuinely perform it. So, like I was saying earlier about how I write lyrics, I took the lyrics that I hadn't written and said, how does this apply to me? How can I live every single word I'm reading and go, oh, yeah, I know how that feels. That sentence makes sense to me. So, when I met Howard, and like, 'cause honestly, I knew him through the scene because I'd played shows with his band, Blood Has Been Shed. I've known that guy forever. I actually he was in a band called Driven. I was in a band called Corinne. I was like 17. He was like, 20 something. I think he's like 10 years older than me. I'm not sure. But and I'd always loved the guy. The great vocalist, nice dude. Like, didn't really know him. So rejoining the band, reading those lyrics, trying to figure out who I was with them. That was all me. And the guys, really. Adam helped a lot too. And then when I met him, what it did do was make me realize the person that I've constantly been compared to is a human. He's not, this rock god that is flawless all the time. He's got his flaws mentally. He's got anxiety just like I do. He's got problems with addiction like I do. Um, he felt the pressure of having to fill my shoes with the Laverage's breathing, which to me was laughable. And he was like, no, fuck you, dude. It was hard. Like singing songs that you did on Leverage Breathing and me being me. Like I had a hard time with it too.
It's a
So
common
we
bond that you both shared.
so we had that discussion, and to me, like it was like, oh, of course, Howard is just a human. You know, he's iron voice, like incredible vibrato, like holy shit, what a great singer. But at the end of the day, he's a human, and I love that. It it really, and that didn't happen until later on. You know, after Incarnate was made, right around the time we were getting ready to start do Atonement, and that's when obviously I was like, oh, now that I know Howard, I can relate to him. He's back on his feet. I think he was doing Devil You Know at the time, and then eventually did Light the Torch. It was like, oh shit, we got to do a duet. Like we got to show people like we're all on the same team here. But that took years to get there, and not just for me, but for those guys too. Those guys had their own issues. And the beautiful thing about Killswitch is we never air all that shit in the media. There was never any down talking. You just let the narrative be what it is about the departure, and we move forward. And I love that about the Killswitch family. I love that they're just classy gents. It's about the music, personal stuff that went down, anything that went down that in the past, like that's it's not your business unless Howard wants to talk about it or someone in Killswitch wants to talk about it. It's not your business. And I love that about all of us. And I couldn't be more proud of Howard and where he is now, not only as a vocalist, because he's still destroying it, but who he is as a person now. I can relate to him a lot more than I probably could have in the early days. He's gone through a lot and he came out the other side and he's better for it. And I admire him for that. He dusted himself off and got right back up, and he's killing the game. Love it.
And from a fan's perspective too, like seeing you both come together for the Signal Fire, it was just such a treat to see
Yeah.
that camaraderie right there.
It's important, I think, not even just for music, but for the sake of taking art to reflect, humanity. They say art imitates life. I think for me, if my message and who try to be and who I stand for and, what I stand for rather, would be a total farce if I didn't do something like that. Because I think it speaks volumes when you do that. Because off the top of my head, I can't really think of many bands that have done that with a singer issue where the egos are so big that you don't see that kind of stuff. And it's a fucking shame. Imagine if bands actually did that and like, we took Light the Torch on tour and I got to watch them every day. And then he would come up and do a song and then we'd do our duet and like close the night out and everyone's happy. And the vibe and the feeling of that tour was unreal. It was so much fun. And it just felt like, okay, that chapter of our lives is closed. Everyone shut the fuck up. Let's move on and let's just do what we do. Which is not the case. Most people are still yapping about it. But I feel like for us as a band, as a family, as a community of musicians and friends, we did that. We sort of like put that to bed and allowed the legacy to thrive for what it is. Because it's not just one guy. It's not just one singer. It's all of us. Everyone who's been in the band. Everyone who's worked for the band. It's all part of the legacy, that the reason why we're still going. I love that about Killswitch.
Because with this song, this duet, technically you've done it twice because you were on Take This Oath as well, weren't you, on The End of Heartache? So twice you guys have collaborated after what's happened, and it's just almost just put any rumors or whatever to bed that, oh, they're still all good. They're just being human. They're moving on with their lives sort of thing.
Right. I think the difference between Take This Oath and Signal Fire, when I did Take This Oath, it was just like me in a room with Adam, just kind of singing. Yeah. And with Signal Fire, I was like in the room together. We sat at the table and talked and like hung out and discussed life. And then I got to sit and just listen to Howard sing and hear Adam do what he does to everyone and berate Howard and be like, oh, you fucked that take up. Nope. And then pay him compliments like, wow, I've missed that big black voice of yours. Like, just be funny and sweet. And to hear them work, and it kind of drew a parallel of like, okay, that's what we do as vocalists. Like, we're not perfect. And then when we nail it, we celebrate it. Like, I just, to be there, to sit there, to listen, to be a part of it. Again, to me, I got so much closure out of that, of just the mythos of what me versus Howard has been in the media and people's minds for so long, and to be in the same room with him as we're cutting this track. I think that's why that song is the way it is. There's a vibe there. Where Take This Oath is a great song, but for me personally, my vocal parts, they're okay. Where Signal Fire really showcases the two of us. You know, you can hear us high. Yeah. Howard screams. You can hear his big bellowing voice. Like, he really shined, and it was because we're just there in the same room. I love that song, and I love the video too. You know, and the way it was directed, where Howard just jumps in. It's like this. Oh, yeah, that's one of the highlights of my career, is doing that song with him, and then doing the video, and then being able to perform with him on stage and see the energy and the joy in his eyes, and to see the joy and love in the audience like that. I'll never forget it.
It'll be
And,
goosebumps
you know, it's like,
moments every night.
yeah, and it won't be the last time, you know, like, we'll take Light the Torch, or, you know, it's not the end. It's just, you know, just can't do it every single tour, because then it's like, all right, dude, can I like do my thing too?
Yeah.
Let's call Howard again. Well, there is always Australia. Just saying.
Never know.